Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into a very special explainer. We're going to dissect a deeply visceral, step-by-step narrative of the Omaha Beach landing exactly as our source material depicts it. We're going to look closely at how this interactive experience takes one of the most chaotic moments in modern history and breaks it down into a truly harrowing personal journey. To really grasp this journey, we've got to start right where the soldiers do, with the literal weight of the world on their shoulders. Colonel Davis sets the stage for us. He says, "We are all that separates the world from darkness." I'm talking about glory, gentlemen, true glory. It's this massive, incredibly high-stakes speech. It's totally designed to set the emotional baseline for the whole mission. I mean, these guys are embarking on an operation to roll back years of aggression, and they're basically being told, hey, this is your moment to be etched into the hearts and minds of a grateful world. But as we're about to see, the distance between this grand rhetoric and the grim reality of the actual beach, it's absolutely staggering.
Section 1. The Eve of Battle. Anticipation and Anxiety.
Now, what's really interesting here is how the narrative brilliantly undercuts that opening speech right out of the gate. On one hand, you have Colonel Davis preaching about true glory. But on the other, you've got our protagonist, Private Daniels, whose immediate reaction to that epic pep talk is to compare it to his high school football coach before a Thanksgiving Day game, a game his team lost by 42 points, no less. This dialogue instantly humanizes Daniels. Through this relatable, kind of self-deprecating banter right on the precipice of this massive historical event, we're reminded that these aren't mythical, invincible heroes. They're just kids from Texas and elsewhere, talking about girls in Paris and terrible football games just to mask their absolute terror. But you know what? That nervous banter completely evaporates the second we hit the water. Section 2, Hitting the Beach, the Descent into Chaos. As the landing craft approaches the hostile shore, a breathless urgency completely takes over, and the initial plan just immediately falls apart. Let's trace this terrifying countdown. At 500 yards out, things are already going sideways. The dialogue reveals they've drifted. They literally can't even see their landmark. Someone actually suggests pulling off, but the order barks back to stay on mission full speed ahead. Then, at 200 yards, which is just 20 seconds out, they start taking heavy incoming fire. The squad realizes with sheer horror that the beaches were supposed to be flattened by aerial bombardment, but they clearly aren't. And then, 0 seconds. The ramp drops. The sensory overload at that 0-second mark is absolute. The absolute second the ramp drops, it's just a funnel of immediate enemy fire. The dialogue screams out that there's zero cover. The soldiers are forced to completely abandon their deployment plan and drop straight over the side into the churning water just to avoid being slaughtered right there on the ramp. They're instantly pinned down by relentless machine gun suppression. This complete and utter lack of cover forces the narrative, and honestly anyone experiencing it, straight into raw survival mode. You're not even really fighting a war yet. You're literally just trying not to drown or get shot in the first 10 seconds. Section 3. Breaching the Seawall. Tactical Objectives. Okay, let's dive into this. Out of all that sheer panic, the chaotic narrative suddenly snaps into hyperfocus. To survive, the squad is given clear, actionable military objectives to keep them moving forward, off that fatal shoreline. Here's the exact, desperate sequence required to open a path. Step 1. Private Daniels is ordered to pick up the Bangalore torpedo, which is this long explosive tube designed to clear obstacles. Step 2. Under withering fire, he has to physically push forward to the seawall. And Step 3. Pull the pin, yell "fire in the hole," and breach the wire. This exact sequence is what channels the sheer terror of the beach into a focused, forward-moving action. It's actually a brilliant way to show how training takes over when fear completely paralyzes you. Section 4. Clearing the bunkers, inch by inch. Once that wire is blown, the environment shifts completely. The narrative transitions from dodging fire in the open sand to the grueling, claustrophobic, close-quarters combat required to actually secure the beachhead. The pacing entirely shifts its rhythm here. Because machine guns are still sweeping the beach, the squad has to utilize smoke grenades to blind the enemy turrets before they can even move up. It becomes highly methodical. You're pairing up with your squad mate Zisman to clear rooms, bunker by bunker, tossing grenades, shouting out targets, and desperately managing your limited medkits just to stay in the fight. It's this rapid-fire, intense sweep where every single corner hides a potentially lethal threat. But right in the middle of this high-octane bunker clearing, the source material forces us to suddenly just stop. Oh man, I'm bleeding out. I can't see shit. The pacing drags to a complete halt. You are suddenly tasked with dragging a wounded,
panicked, blinded comrade to a casualty collection point, all while artillery and gunfire just continue to rain down around you.
And as you're dragging this soldier, desperately applying pressure to his wounds, a quiet promise is made. You gotta hang on. Those girls in Paris are waiting for you. It's this incredibly desperate attempt to keep a bleeding comrade awake. What this brilliantly illustrates is how the narrative anchors this massive, earth-shattering chaos in a deeply human desire to just survive. The promise of Paris isn't about victory or glory. It's a lifeline thrown to a dying kid to give him a reason to just keep his eyes open.
Section 5. Destroying the cannon. The final push.
Leaving that casualty collection point, the energy ramps right back up. The squad is ordered to make one final push to eliminate the last major threat, raining fire down on the remaining landing forces trapped down on the beach. This final push is a multi-stage assault on an entrenched farmhouse. The squad has to engage the enemy forces, physically take over a machine gun position in a halo to turn it against the defenders, and then survive a fierce enemy counterattack. The climactic action of this entire harrowing sequence is reaching the massive GPF cannon that's been tearing up the beach and planting thermite on it to melt its firing mechanism. Once that thermite burns, the immediate area is finally truly secured. Section 6. The Bloody First. Aftermath. That sudden silence brings a really somber resolution to the mission. It's a stark contrast to the relentless action we literally just witnessed. The casualty report leaves us with a chilling realization. We lost so many, but we took the beach, paid a damn high price. So the crucial point here is how this single line completely dismantles the romanticized, true glory that Colonel Davis promised us at the very start. There's no talk of being etched into the hearts of a grateful world here. There's only the crushing reality of a beach covered in the fallen and the sheer, exhausting weight of a damn high price paid in blood. As the squad regroups to bivouac at the second hedgerow, Private Daniels is told, "Welcome to the Bloody First. You're a long way from Texas, farm boy." Daniels and his squad have survived their brutal initiation. They realize that absolutely none of their training could have truly prepared them for what they just faced. But through this shared trauma, they forged a real brotherhood. They owe each other their lives, vowing to see this through to the very end. Which leaves us with a final thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. How does experiencing this virtual sacrifice change our understanding of true historical heroism? When source material steps away from grand speeches and forces you into the mud, into the sensory overload of a drowning sprint, and into the desperate dragging of a bleeding friend, it fundamentally redefines heroism. It makes the high human cost of Normandy impossible to ignore. It reminds us that history isn't just made of dates and victories. It's made of terrified individuals pushing forward when everything around them is completely falling apart. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I can't wait to dive into our next topic with you soon. Keep learning and stay focused.